Okay, so welcome to lesson 11, color theory for design and branding of the Graphic Design Mastery Academy sponsored by Leke. If you've made it this far, then you're really committed because it's customary for people to start on the first day and somewhere around the middle they vanish. So if you've made it this far, then you're really serious. So congratulations. I can say I'm proud of you. Actually, come to think of it, you're the only one who's made it this far. So lesson lesson outline the basics of color theory. We see color theory, the color wheel, psychology in design, color choices in branding, real world brand examples, tips for choosing effective brand color palettes. So the objectives of this lesson is by the end of the lesson, you should be able to understand the fundamentals of color theory, apply color harmony principles in design projects, recognize the psychological impact of colors, select brand appropriate color palettes with purpose, analyze, learn from real world branding examples. One very important aspect of color, understanding color theory. Understanding color theory. So there are three basic settings when it comes to color, which are very important, which is the hue. The hue is the base color, right? As you can see on this image at the side here, red, yellow, green, blue, purple, back to red. This is the hue here. You have the saturation who controls the intensity. So the more you increase the saturation, the more the color becomes intense, and the more you reduce it, the less it becomes intense. So it becomes like black and white. They have the value controls the lightness or darkness of the color here. So if you increase it, it becomes light until it's pure white, or it becomes dark until it's purely dark. So these three properties here define how we perceive and use colors in design. And I was saying that what's most interesting about colors is color theory on colors is it expands not just design, even in your dressing, right? In your day dressing, colors matter. You can't just wear anything unless you want to create a color riot. Or even in your homes, you're designing your homes, if you're designing your homes. So color is very important, not just for designers, even for non-designers as well. In your day-to-day life, it's good to understand how to match colors together. So what is what about now? Are you seeing now? Okay. So the color wheel and color harmony. So the different color schemes. If you remember at the very beginning, I think in the first or second lesson, I introduced you to this color scheme and I asked you to like go and research more about them. So we introduced you to the complementary. There are a lot of color schemes. These are just a few of them. The complementary, analogous, triadic, and monochromatic. So in the complementary color scheme, they are opposites of on the wheel. Example, red and green. So complementary color schemes are colors which are opposite on the color wheel. Like you see here, you have red and you have green. They are opposite, so they are complementary. Red and green. So yeah, for example, you have blue and yellow or orange, right? The opposite, hence they are complementary, right? So an analogous color scheme involves what? Side by side colors. Example, blue and green, right? You have blue and green. So if you are trying to create an analogous color scheme, you use, for example, colors which are side by side in the color wheel. For example, blue and green, blue and purple, red and purple, red and orange, orange and yellow, yellow and green. So these colors always match together, right? Colors which are uh, side by side to each other. So they can use these colors, example for ingredients, right? To create a gradient. If you create a gradient between purple and blue, it will work very perfectly. Or maybe blue and green, uh, red and yellow. So these gradients function very perfectly together in analogous color scheme. So you also have the triadic, right? Three evenly spaced colors.
Black and white is not in the color wheel.
White is simply any color, right? See, remember here, talk about lightness. So white comes about when you increase the lightness to the maximum. That's when we have what? White.
Okay.
So white is here and dark is at the extreme here. Mm. So white is not a naturally existing color. White is not a naturally existing color. Do you know that?
Yes.
This physics, right? Physics
Yes.
studies light, the different colors in the light spectrum. There was no white or black on it, right?
Okay.
So they are neutral colors formed from the combination of other colors. They do not exist naturally by themselves. So we have the triadic, three evenly spaced colors. Example, red, yellow, and blue. This red, yellow, and blue. So you see that it forms like uh, a triad, right? You have one line like this other line here. So it forms like a triad. You understand? So three evenly spaced colors. It's like when you take a circle, right? Divide the circle into three equal parts. For example, like this, and then you cut here and here. So this here, this color here, this color here, and this color here, you can match them together. So that's triadic color scheme. They have the monochromatic, one hue with variations in the light and dark saturation. The monochromatic simply take, like for example, we take this blue here. These are the variations now. You see, as we go forward, it becomes lighter and lighter until it becomes completely white. And if you go down, it becomes dark and darker until if you continue like this, it becomes completely black. So this is the monochromatic. So you take one color and use different shades of the same color. This is a monochromatic color scheme. So harmony creates balance and visual interest. That's the use of harmony. So you have to understand these color schemes when you're choosing colors, right? To know how to match them together. So later forward, we also look at some websites which you can use in order to get some of these color palettes. So color psychology in design. So what does some of these colors represent, right? What they stand for? Or what can you use? In which situations can you use them? For example, the red and its emotional meaning stands for energy, passion, urgency. See, for example, on stop signs on the road, they use red color for urgency, right? So you have blue. Blue signifies trust, professionalism, calmness. See, a lot of companies go for blue because of this. What symbolizes trust, professionalism. You have yellow as well, which signifies optimism, warmth, and yellow also draws attention, right? Yellow is a color that strikes a lot, so it draws attention. So you have green. Green symbolizes growth, vegetation, nature, health, balance. That's some of the things that green represents. Purple represents luxury, creativity, mystery. You have also black. Black represents power, elegance, sophistication, right? See, Apple uses black, and Apple is an elegant, sophisticated mark brand. So choose colors based on the feeling you want your audience to associate with your brand. So color is not just something which you choose at random when it comes to branding. It has to have a reason behind it, right? Significance. So you have to know why you're actually going for that color. So color in branding and why it matters. Color affects perception, recognition, and emotional connection. 80% of brand recognition comes from color alone. I've given examples before with Orange, Cameroon, Camtel, MTN. Each of them have a distinct color by which you instantly recognize them just by seeing that color. Banks do the same too. For example, UBA has red, Afriland has red and black. So if you notice clearly, see that a lot of professional businesses take this into account, right? Take branding very seriously. It's in small businesses that you see just the things anyhow. Maybe they don't even have a logo. But if you check professional businesses, multinationals, they take this very seriously into account in everything they do. Consistent, so it matters for consistent color use. It builds trust and familiarity. Colors can differentiate your brand in a crowded market. So we have some examples here: Coca-Cola, which uses the red; Facebook, which uses the blue; and MTN, which uses the yellow. There's some examples amongst thousands of other companies which you know. So if you check any company, right, any big brand which you know, they have a particular color scheme which they use. If you go through their socials, for example, the social channels, their website, you will notice that consistency in the colors. That is branding. So how to choose a color palette? So how do you actually go about choosing a color palette? So the first thing is understand the brand's personality and tone. So first you have to understand the brand's personality. So what sort of emotion, we'll talk about colors having emotions. So what sort of emotion does that brand convey? Is it sophistication? Is it elegance? Is it creativity? You see, so from that perspective, it can shape what colors are being used, right? What colors are being used for that brand. So you research your target audience. Who's this? What is this? Who are you designing for? For example, who's the target audience of the brand? For example, we're talking about iPhone, for example, Apple. The targets for Apple are what? It's a luxury, right? People who want to have a luxurious feel, luxurious goods, people who like luxury. So you see that they've chosen the black and the white as their base colors because it represents what? Sophistication and elegance. So however, if you were maybe designing something for a company, for example, that deals maybe in baby clothing, black and white might not be what you should be aiming for. You see, you should be aiming something like pink, sky blue kind of colors. Colors which are very light-hearted, right? Soft colors. So that's why it's important to research your target audience. It matters. So use tools like Adobe Color or Colors or Chroma. These are tools which you can use in order to combine colors together and see how they look like. So for example, if you see on your right here, you see some different color palettes which I've used across different brands, across different designs. So it's a guideline. The guideline is first to choose a primary color. So for example, in this case here, for this one here, this was the primary color. This is actually the color palette for Leke Tech. This is the primary color over here. In this case, for this one, this was the primary color here, and in this case here, this was the primary color. Actually, here there were two primary colors, this and this, the blue and the red. So, well, actually, as in the start, right, it would be advisable to go with one primary color. Then when you're more comfortable with combining colors, you can now add more, right? Combine more and more colors together. So if you look at this one, at this last one here, there are even more colors. Now this, for example, this color palette here was for the design of a kid's booklet. It's a kid booklet with stories and activities for kids. So if you look at the colors being chosen, they are very light colors being chosen. And see there are a lot of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colors, which was used across the book, the design. So the more you get comfortable with using colors, the more you also get comfortable in combining them. However, we are lucky that we're in a digital age where everything doesn't have to be manual. You don't have to think about which color am I going to use. There are tools which have already been put in place which you can just use in order to get these colors. So some of these tools, for example, we'll look at for Adobe Color, right? Adobe Color. So let's check it out. Adobe Color. So if you go on your browser and you type color.adobe.com, this is the link here. This is where you appear. color.adobe.com. So you will see this page as I'm saying like this. You can select color themes here. You can extract themes and create gradients. You can transfer color themes into stunning content here. So there are a lot of things you can find here. So for example, let's check this one out, color themes. So remember we talk about different color harmonies, right? Color schemes or color harmony. So if you come on this drop down here, you see all of them here: analogous, monochromatic, triad, complementary. We spoke of this. I would say there are more. We have split, complementary, square, compound, shades, custom. These are all color schemes, right, which you can use to create a good color harmony. So for example, on analogous, so if I select this one here, you see it instantly gives me what colors I can use to match it with. You see, so for example, this color I can match it with all these colors here using the analogous scheme. So it makes choosing colors very easy. So this is the color palette already given for you here. You can just copy the color code and go and paste it into Illustrator, Photoshop I use. So you can change to maybe monochromatic. Set monochromatic involves a shade of a single color, right? So if you see it involves shades of a single color. So you see, for example, so I can use these colors, for example, to create a very nice gradient if I want to create a gradient, or a very nice color scheme for my app or for my brand. You have the triad as well. This is a triad, as I said. So if I rotate, see it rotates. I can reduce it like this. So you can use this tool in order to test colors, right? Test colors together and to decide which one you are going in for and which color can be combined with what, depending on the color harmony scheme you're choosing. Complementary. So for example, according to this complementary scheme, shows I can match this, for example, this blue here with this one here. Decrease the lightness. So Eventually, when you get these colors, you test them, right? You test them on your Photoshop or Illustrator and see how it actually looks, right, on your design in order to make your final choice. In order to make your final choice. So, so, so far, so good. Okay. So it's customary for a start, you can get like one primary color. One primary color, for example, Leke Tech, we have one primary color. We have one to two you can get 1 to 2 secondary colors. So here we only have one secondary color, which is this. Then an accent color. This is the accent color here. So now I have the white and the black, which are neutral colors. White and black are neutral colors. But one tip is avoid using completely white or completely black color, right? Because they don't really, to make your designs look better, avoid using completely black or completely white. This is a tip. So for example, on your Photoshop, for example, so let's just say I wanted to, let me create a shape. This is blue color. So let me change this color to white. So for choosing white color, don't come and put this extremely white color here, right? Come at the side here slightly. So it's white but with a slightly bluish tint now. A slightly bluish tint. This adds quality. This has more quality than the purely white, right? It uses white with a slightly bluish tint. So the same goes if it was blue, green or red. So putting this cursor just here, giving the slightly colorish tint on the white, makes it look better. Same thing goes for the black. So for the black, I also try to use something which is not completely black here like this, but something up here, right? Something at this part here, which is not fully dark, but it's black with a certain maybe white tint or maybe red tint, depending on the color which is there, which I want to use. So that is a pro tip. Here as well, this is the primary color here. So the two secondary colors. Then we have the black and the white. Here, these are the two primary. So the two secondary. They are the white and the black. And here, well, which one was the primary? Again here, I think this was the primary. So well, this one was more complicated because it was a very bulk work, involved a lot of pages. It was not really it was not the branding for a company, but the branding for a book. So the color palette was really large. But the blue was the main. I think the blue was the main, if I remember clearly. Then these were now all of these were secondary colors. These two were more of accent colors. This one were background colors. These were accent colors. This one here, this one and this were secondary colors, and this was the primary color. So he said this was a little bit more complex. See, there are a lot of colors here compared to maybe this. So some tools for creating color palettes. We already looked at Adobe Color, Advanced Harmony Tools. So we also have this site, colors.co, generate and export palettes. We have chroma.co, AI generated palettes based on preferences. So you can check all these sites, right? We have color hunts, curated inspiration. Use this to explore palettes for logos, websites, and campaigns. So let's check a bit this to colors.co and chroma.co. Let's just look at them. If connection will permit us. So once you've gotten your color palette, you want to put them together like this besides your like this beside your canvas. If you're using, for example, Illustrator, if you're using Photoshop, you cannot put really things inside your canvas like this in Photoshop because everything outside the canvas is invisible. However, you can like put them inside like this. Then you can use your color picker tool here and then extract the colors, right? Extract the colors. So now this now serves as a guideline in your design, this color palette here. So for example, this here is being used in the design of this logo. So I wonder if those sites have opened. This is chroma. This is colors.co. Yeah. So on chroma here, what chroma simply does is you select 50 colors, right? 50 colors here, and AI will match those colors for you in order to create a color palette. That's what chroma does. So it's an AI-based tool to create color palettes. So the connection is a little bit slow, so these sites are not working as they should. But if your connection is better, you can test these sites out. Are we together? So let's head into discussion. So the first question is, why do some brands use specific colors? In your opinion, why do some brands use specific colors over others? In your opinion,
Because they're trying to see specific colors over others. So they're trying to represent what their brand is. If their brand is luxury, they'll use a specific color that represents luxury
yes, they are trying
or
to
that takes luxury.
they're trying to convey a particular feeling, emotion, right? That represents their brand. Try to convey a particular feeling or emotion
Luxury,
that represents the brand.
like, yeah.
The next question is, how can color increase emotional connection with an audience? How do you think color can increase emotional connection with an audience?
example, if the brand's color is yellow,
Mm-hmm.
it gives a collection of fragrance or something. So everything is about communication. They are trying to communicate what they saw. And if it's red, yeah, their emotions, I don't understand. They will like feel what's the aim. So connect a connection like so color helps generally to increase the emotional connection by choosing the particular color
Yeah.
of their audience or the target audience.
Mm-hmm. Like we say, oh, colors
If it,
convey feelings.
and yes, exactly.
Colors convey feelings. Set take the example red. You see Nigerian films when they're acting, these awkward people, see they're always wearing red. Red. Red stands for what? For danger. Some things like that. So
Yes,
or you see when they're presenting maybe angels, they are wearing white. Stuff like that. White stands for like peace or purity.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So it's the same thing to in
If it's
brands as
an
well.
approach,
It's the same thing too in brands. We talk about like blue. You see a lot of, a lot of fintechs, right? A lot of fintechs use this blue or purple, blue purple, blue purple, or you will see also green when it comes to fintech. A lot of them use that color. If you've noticed,
yes, I mean, a lot of things.
so like pink is usually a color. Like pink, for example, is a color which is usually associated to girls, right? Pink is a color which is associated to girls. So let's just see we're designing, for example, a boy's brand, right? Maybe a boy clothing brand, and you're using pink color. See, it doesn't really match the intended audience. But if you was,
What you are saying.
huh? What just I didn't get you.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. So the last question goes like this: how would you choose a color palette for a serious business like a law firm versus a fun brand like a toy store? This is a more tricky question. How would you choose a color palette for a serious business like a law firm versus a fun brand like a toy store?
How will you choose a color palette for a serious business
Like a law,
like a law firm?
a law firm, law now, lawyers, law, a law firm
Yeah, black and white.
versus a fun brand like a toy store.
For a law firm, I'll choose black and white, and for a toy store, um, vibrant color
Or we can,
would be
if,
preferable.
huh? I didn't get you.
For a law firm, black and white because it represents authority, power, wealth, and yeah, it communicates a certain feeling. Yeah. And for a toy firm, a toy store, vibrant colors like maybe very sharp colors, maybe yellow,
Yes.
purple, and
Yes.
something flat
Yes.
for a toy store.
Exactly. Exactly. Means you've understood colors. You're basically now a color professional.
Exactly.
So for a professional, a serious business, you avoid some of these flashy colors. You use more toned down colors, right? Black and white or toned down colors. Toned down. Even if you're using maybe blue, don't avoid using a flashy blue, shiny blue. You will use like a toned down blue, something like that. But on the contrary, for a toy store, it has to be flashy, right? It's for children, it's for kids. So it has to shine. So you grab attention. So it's bright color, orange, yellow. Even if you're using blue, it has to be a shiny blue, things like that. So that the answer was perfect, spot on. So as far as the practice activity goes, for this, you're to create a brand palette for a fictional business. It could be any business of your choice. It could be a coffee shop, a textile beauty brand, a law firm, or a toy shop. Anything of your choice. So you identify the brand's personality. Take an example of a law firm, right? A law firm is more of a serious, strong. Uh, you give the details already. You see, so you select 3 to 5 brand colors using colors, Adobe, any tool which you want to use. Give some of those tools which you can use. Apply your palette to a logo or flyer design. So this is not really like necessary, this part here, but this is the part which I want you to grab. So you then identify the business and try to select 3 to 5 colors for the brand. One primary color, maybe 1 or 2 secondary colors, and an accent color for it. This part is not important here. You don't have to design a logo or a flyer. And you can submit. I'm even saying submit like this. Let's try. Have you ever submitted? So this is that when it comes to colors. And usually you're trying to design, you first of all start by getting the colors which you're going to use. Getting the colors you're going to use for that design. Then after getting the colors, you will now try to come up with a layout. Before now doing the finalizations, adding the color now to the layout. Okay, wait, find the colors, yes. Another one is finding the images and maybe icons you're going to use, right? Then coming up with a layout.
Designing the logo.
No, I'm talking about like uh any design as a whole. Not it's not specific. Not specific.
Okay.
So you get the colors you're going to use in that design, the colors, the images which you're going to use. So in a logo you will not use images, but in a flyer or a poster you use images, right? which you're going to use. You come up with a layout, right? A layout. Okay, I'm going to place the heading here. I'm going to put the, for example, it's like, okay, I'm going to put the heading over here. Then I'm going to have like a small text under it. I'm going to have maybe services over here. I'm going to have an image beside here. So that's like coming up with a layout, right? The design is not yet complete. So after you have come up with a layout now, okay, now see how to start adding those colors which you select on your palette to your layout. So okay, I'm going to put the text now in red. I'm going to put my button now in blue and things like that. After you add those colors, you now try to finalize it. So okay, what can I add here to make it better? Maybe I can add an effect over here, add something here and there and there and there to make it look better. So once you've gone through all those finalizations, your design is complete. So when we say it out loud like this, it sounds like very easy. You can do it in 5 seconds, you're done. But practically, you spend like 2 hours just thinking how you're going to start before getting now into it. After, somebody will come and tell you that is it not just a simple flyer? It's not just a simple. So, oh yeah, come and take the laptop and do it now. Because that's how the people are. They stay, if you finish with that thing, say, am I? Say, unless, design something, unless you're doing it, you will not know how complicated it can be. When you explain to somebody who has never designed before, the person cannot understand. Because the person sees only the final product.